This is The Litter Box, a Detroit Lions podcast with your hosts, Chet West and Bill Patterson.
Lions Litter Box listeners, we have an exciting tilt this week. Monday Night Football against the Baltimore Ravens. The Lions are 4.5-point dogs. However, this host is feeling optimistic that the Lions are going to get their first victory in the city of Baltimore since 1977. I'm going to go early on my prediction and say that the Lions win this 24-23. Chet, what do you have to say?
I think your prediction is optimistic, to say the least. I do not believe we win this game. And I think there are too many things that have to happen right for the Lions to pull out a victory here. I'm taking 31-17 as a final score. And I'll be curious to see if the Lions can even score that much on this Ravens defense. They aren't the Ravens defense of yesteryear that was dominating, but they are still quite good.
They have a few key injuries, which I think could play to the Lions' favor on this. I know that I'm coming off very Pollyanna-ish. I just know that the Lions are 6-1 all-time against the Ravens. That 1977 victory actually happened against the Baltimore Colts. But hear me out on this. One of the key injuries, and I'm going to probably mispronounce this name, but it's Amon-Ra St, is their defensive tackle, and he is out. Isaiah Likely, their backup tight end or second tight end, is out. Another gentleman who they utilize quite a bit, Patrick Ricard, a fullback, is also out. And then I think the secret to their defense the last, say, few seasons has been a familiar name to us, Chet. He was a Lions draft pick that the Lions couldn't figure out how to utilize, yet had a very successful Pro Bowl career in New England and also in Baltimore, and that's Kyle Van Noy, who is also out. The only player out for the Lions right now, Chet, is a very familiar face, Marcus Davenport, or should we call him Marcus Always Hurt?
Well, he's not out for the season, so he's just out for the week at this point. Usually Davenport gets these injuries that take him out for the season. And I think he did a pretty good job pronouncing Matabuke's name there. Nnamdi Matabuke. I think it's Nnamdi Matabuke, but he's probably their biggest loss. He was a guy that really scared me in the initial offing here, because you know how our interior O-line has had its struggles between the center and the guard there. So him being out does help.
Yeah, I mean, the same keys to the game that we've talked about the previous 2 weeks, Chet, are going to be present here. And that is going to be a Glasgow at center and then the two young guards flanking him on either side, both the left and right. And Tate Ratledge played much, much better week 2 over that of week 1. And I would say that Christian Mahogany also did the same. Glasgow, we've been critical of him. However, having a key disruptor, a 3-technique defensive tackle out can only help the Lions in this. I know that I'm optimistic in my prediction, and that is contingent on the Lions being able to run the football like they did against the Bears.
I'm more worried in this game. I'm more worried about our defense containing their offense. Well, that's a bigger worry.
That is the crazy part. And the statistic that we mentioned in our recap on the Bears is that Lamar Jackson is 26-2 against the NFC, which is otherworldly.
Yeah.
And the question I have for you is, why do we think that is? And then number 2, does that revert more to a norm? Because I did a little digging on this, Chet, and I've never seen an AFC-NFC quarterback split quite like this.
Yeah, I don't know that there's anything to it other than the fact that, who has he played in the NFC in his 32 outings? I'm not going to sit and say that it's like he's got the NFC number, because that doesn't make any sense. Why would it be any different versus the AFC? But he is a very good quarterback. He is a mobile quarterback, which we know the Lions haven't dealt well with a mobile quarterback in years. So he presents a lot of threats. And with Derrick Henry in the backfield, our run defense is going to have to be on point.
Absolutely. And I think, if I can give my opinion or hypothesis on this, he's a dual threat quarterback, but he operates at the highest level possible. So if Jaden Daniels did what he did to the Lions beat up defense last year in the playoffs. Lamar Jackson would be Coke from Mexico with cane sugar.
Yeah.
And Jaden Daniels would be Diet Coke he's Tab.
Yeah.
Do you remember Tab? He's Tab.
He's got saccharin. There's some saccharin in there. I don't.
He's very light.
I agree with you. I agree with what you're saying there. I think he poses a threat. And I think for the Lions to win this game, first and foremost, I'm going to present a sentence to you. What do the Lions have to do to win this game, Bill?
Win the turnover battle.
Yep.
And they have to dominate time of possession, meaning they have to be able to run the ball and stop the run and have at least 3 explosive plays.
I'm with you. Up to the explosive plays. I'm less worried about explosive plays. We need to make sure we win the turnover battle. We need the defense to make a couple plays in this game to turn the tide. Number 2 is keep Lamar Jackson on the bench, i.e. time of possession. Keep the ball in our offense's hands.
Couldn't agree more.
We cannot get into, against this defense, and they still have some talent out there, we cannot get into 3rd and long. We've got to stay out of 3rd and long. Jared Goff in 3rd and 9 it just isn't his best down. And it's not for anybody, right? Like nobody wants to be in 3rd and long, but Jared Goff in 3rd and long becomes very predictable passing down, and then we lose a lot of our edge and leverage there.
And to your point on that, the play action offense, which is what Jared Goff is so successful at, whether Ben Johnson's his OC, whether Johnny Morton's his OC, if they can predicate throwing on first downs to set up 2nd and 3rd and shorts, keep the Ravens offense, which is a 2-headed monster, 3 if you add in Zay Flowers, although I think Terrion Arnold has his best game of the season this week.
Don't forget, you got to contain D-Hop too.
Yeah.
I mean,
no, they've got weapons everywhere.
They got weapons all over.
I love this Lions roster, and I agree with Dan Campbell saying this is the most talented roster he's ever had. However, when I look across at the Ravens lineup and their roster, it is stacked. It is proof of an organization that just continues to draft well and pick their spots in free agency, meaning D. Hopkins, Derrick Henry, just how successful of a franchise you can be. Kyle Van Noy's also, Roquan Smith.
Roquan Smith's one of the best middle linebackers in the game.
They seem to 1st and 2nd round picks and not only reclaim them, but make them even better. Derrick Henry being the exception. He was awesome in Tennessee as well.
I just think the margin of error in this game is minimal for the Lions.
So can I give you 3 players these are my picks to click if the Lions are going to win the upset?
Yes.
Number 1, Jack Fox. When the Lions do have to punt, he has to be excellent, which he has been the first 2 weeks, pin the Ravens deep in their own territory. Number 2, and I know he's playing with an ankle that's been bothering him, we have to see Jack Campbell really be a great run stopper and be the quarterback of the defense. The last guy I would say was also on the defensive side of the ball, and that's going to be Brian Branch. He needs to do what he's been doing in the first 2 games this season, flying around, creating havoc, creating turnovers, because again, that turnover battle is going to be paramount to this. And then the interior of the offensive line. I know you and I have talked about this ad nauseum. I hope they can continue the path that they had last week. I know they're going to go up against much steeper competition. However, we don't need to lay a 50 burger on the Ravens.
No.
I do think first team to 24 probably gets this done. Chet, I have to say, when I look down the schedule, and you and I have texted about this offline, how exciting is it that the Lions are in so many primetime and games?
Well, and they're against all good teams. I mean, their schedule is very tough. And now that Green Bay looks like probably one of the best teams in the NFL at this point, makes it even more difficult because you're adding them into the mix.
Yeah.
And Carson Wentz taking over the helm for the Vikings, this may last longer than one game.
Are you giving us some insider info from the Twin Cities?
I just think that I have this feeling that Carson Wentz is going to bring some things out of that offense that J.J. McCarthy couldn't. I don't know if it's permanent. I don't know that McCarthy doesn't take over get back into the starting spot. I mean, they've invested in him. They're going to give him a chance. I'm just saying it could be interesting to see what Carson Wentz is able to do with this offense, and then maybe what McCarthy can learn from him. But not a Vikings podcast, but the NFC North. I'm just looking at it, and like the Bears look like the pushover. Obviously, they're absolutely horrifying. But the rest of the division between Minnesota and Green Bay isn't going to be a pushover. They're going to be a challenge. So we'll see what happens. I feel like this game is kind of the tipping point. I mean, here we are in week 3. What do you do against the Ravens? Do you compete, or do you look hapless like you did against Green Bay and their defense?
Or the Ravens game last year for our listeners, if you remember that.
Yeah.
No, the Lions were out of it by the end of the first quarter.
Yeah.
It was,
that's my fear.
Yeah.
If we can't contain Henry and just minimize his damage, the next thing is the pass rush. We have to have a pass rush. If we don't pressure Lamar Jackson and contain Henry, this game will be over by halftime for sure. We have to get pressure on Lamar Jackson, and their line is beat up. Their line isn't that good. So we can get pressure on him. We can do it, but we have to get the pressure on him and contain Henry.
And for listeners, because we're not on video, Chet raised both eyebrows.
I did.
Very curiously when I brought up Jack Fox.
Yes.
Do you have any players that we should keep an eye on?
Jake Fox?
Jake Fox.
Jake Fox. I don't know who Jack Fox is. He's like your milk guy or something. But
no.
Fox.
Wasn't he like an actor on...
Jack Fox? He might have been. He might have been an actor.
On Lost or something like that?
But you're not going to get...
that's Matthew Fox.
These inside looks that we're giving you folks here. I mean, who else has the punting game as a key to victory out there in the Lions podcast world? Nobody's written that up. But Bill, if Fox sticks a couple punts inside the 10 and flips a field for us or something, I'm coming right back to you next episode and saying, good work, my friend. You pointed something out the rest of the world didn't see.
So that might mean that some stadium mustard might be on its way.
Maybe some stadium mustard will be on its way. A little gift for a good pick on your behalf. So, Bill, if you're a betting man, and I know you are to a degree or another, as am I, we're looking at a line of 4.5. We've got Baltimore minus 4.5. I actually think I would take Baltimore giving that 4.5 in this game per my score that I gave you earlier. And the total at 53 points, which that's a lot of scoring. I'm going to take the under on the points for this one. I don't know that I see the Lions. If the Lions win, I think they're going to do it by limiting Baltimore and keeping them off the board and off the field, which would drive the points a little lower. And I don't see the Lions putting up 52 in this game against this defense. I think it'll be more of a street fight if the Lions actually win. I could see Baltimore crushing them, but if that happens, I don't see the Lions putting anything on the board, and Baltimore would be getting all the points. Your thoughts?
My thoughts are, I agree with you on the under. I'm seeing, between 53 and 53.5. And both of our predictions led us, I think your total would have been 51 points. I think you said 31-17. Oh, no. So 48. And mine was a much lower score than that, 24-23. And I still kind of like the Lions getting 4.5 points. I think the line's too low, meaning that if I wanted the Ravens, I'd want at least plus 7, plus 7.5, 8.
You'd want a tutty in there, yeah.
Yeah. So, some just interesting facts. The Ravens have scored the opening touchdown in 1 game out of 2 that they've played so far. Each one of the touchdowns on their opening touchdown drive has been via the air. And the Ravens have not scored in the first quarter a touchdown this year. So just interesting stats. If we want to go to the fantasy angles, Lamar Jackson is all world in fantasy. And again, we talked about his unbelievable record, 26-2 against the NFC.
He's a plug and play against any defense as far as I'm concerned.
I think if you had to look at the receivers and tight ends for the Ravens, Zay Flowers is the best bet. I don't know that DeAndre Hopkins or Mark Andrews is going to get you really what you need depending on who else you have out there. And then Derrick Henry is going to be feast or famine. He's either going to have a
140 yards or he's going to have 40.
Yeah, 90 plus yards and 2 touchdowns, or he's going to have 12 carries and like you said, 40 yards and be a bust. But you still have to start him if you have him because he's amazing. Moving
what
over
do you think of the Ravens wide receivers, though? Because I'm kind of keen on Zay Flowers and DeAndre Hopkins. You think Zay is the guy?
I think Zay is the play.
Okay. All right. Very good.
What about you? Do you agree?
I think D-Hop could surprise in this game, too.
Okay.
I mean, I think Zay might get the coverage. Who knows? I don't know that I'm sold on Terry and Arnold being the lockdown corner or anything. So he's going to get his catches, but I'm wondering if D-Hop blows up a little bit in this game.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. And then Mark Andrews is battling some injuries. He's up there in years as well. I would not start him unless you had to.
Yeah.
And Isaiah Likely's battling a foot injury. He is out. But everything that I've heard listening to other pods, reading, is that Isaiah Likely is going to be the starting and main focus tight end.
Yeah, I don't think
when he gets healthy.
Tight ends. I don't think the Baltimore tight ends are a play here.
Yeah, so let's talk about the Lions.
Yep.
Jared Goff is complete and total feast or famine. I don't think he's going to have the fantasy outlook that he had last week. So I have 3 players that I would focus on if you were focusing on the Lions. Number 1 would be Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think he's going to still have 8+ catches. Don't know if he's going to find the end zone, especially not 3 times like he did last week, but he would be my go-to.
Like Lamar on the other side, he's the auto start on the Detroit side.
Auto start. And then the second auto start would be Jahmyr Gibbs. He's going to get his. In terms of carries and touches, I just don't know how.
Disagree.
You okay? Great.
I
like disagreements.
I think this is going to be a David Montgomery game.
Good. All right. Well, we will see on that.
I think it's a little more smash mouth, a little more of a physical running game for the Lions in this game.
Okay, so you think...
Yeah, I'm going with David Montgomery over Gibbs in this
one. Knuckles gets more carries and more touches.
Yep.
All right. You know what's really fascinating about the Lions backs is that not only are they both complementary to each other, but they're both great at blocking, catching, and running the ball, which is so rare in today's NFL.
Something you notice about this Lions team, and I think this comes from the coaching and the way they build the team, they expect their receivers and their backs to block and be good at it. So you can't work in this offense if you aren't good at blocking and doing those little things. Isaac Tislaw is, part of the reason they drafted the guys because he's so physical and good at that aspect of the game. Jameson Williams is actually a great blocker. Out on the edge, when these guys go out around the edge and you got a wide receiver blocking, Williams actually does a really good job of blocking, which kind of, maybe an unsung portion of his repertoire.
So my last fantasy play would be if you have Sam Laporta, this is a game that I can see him being a mismatch for the Baltimore linebackers.
Yeah.
He obviously will be brought in to block, but that's primarily Brock Wright's job, Brocktober. So I can see Sam Laporta also having a pretty big game. So
Roquan Smith is a good middle linebacker and a good running defense linebacker. I don't know that they have the pass coverage at the linebacker level to keep up with Laporta. So that is an interesting call.
Can I go into just Lamar Jackson player props briefly?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Give us some player props.
So his over-under for passing yards is 234.5.
I like that. I think I would take the over on that. Because if they're down, they're going to start throwing. And if they're up, they're going to throw. Because they're going to be up because they're throwing.
Okay, well, I disagree, but that's what's fun about this pod. His rushing yard prop, the over-under is 44.5.
I don't know that he's going to get that. I don't think he gets that. I'd go under on that.
Okay, so I'm the exact opposite.
Okay.
I am going under because he's averaging so far this year 217 yards through the air. I know it's 2 games, small sample size. And then I'm going to go over the 44.5. He has not gone over his passing yard total in this season. And he does have a passing touchdown in both games and has had multiple passing touchdowns. Last statistic, this is getting away from Lamar Jackson, but the Lions are ranked second in the NFL for scoring 2 touchdowns in the first quarter this year. So if they get off to a quick start, it could be
fantastic.
Optimistic for the Lions.
Okay.
Anything else you'd like to add?
I think we've covered it pretty well here on the betting angles and the fantasy. I don't have anything extra to throw in there.
I've got one more, and it's Derrick Henry's rushing yards over-under is at 86.5. We already talked about it. He's either going to go well beyond
that's
that.
boom or bust.
Yes.
I don't know that it's a bet. I don't know that that's a prop I'm putting any money on just because it could go either way. I've been awful on player props this season already to start things off. I don't think we have enough sample size yet. I don't know.
That bet to me says
take the opposite of everything I give you guys. Just take that, because right now I've been terrible with it.
Well, that one I'm just saying, just send Vegas your just give them your whatever your C note or whatever it is you're putting on that player prop. All right. I do have a food.
Yeah.
I asked you, do you have any picks to click in the game before I get into food?
My picks to click for this game, I think that our defense needs to have a good game as a whole. Our run defense. I'm going to go out and say that, yes, Campbell needs to be effective, but our line needs to stop the run at the line. We need to have pressure and penetration.
So DJ Reader
Derrick Henry gets to the linebackers, we're in trouble.
Absolutely.
Because I really don't want to see our linebackers making tackles 4 or 5 yards across the line of scrimmage. I want to see him getting stuffed up at the line. So if he gets the second level, we're in trouble. And the pressure on the quarterback. So the defense is my number one pick to click. I know it's like a cheat because I picked the whole damn defense, but okay.
It's not picking the punter.
The other pick to click, the intermediate yardage. We need to see Goff completing passes to the likes of Laporta and Amon-Ra, who's going to be a part of the game regardless probably. But I wouldn't mind seeing Tislaw get introduced a little more in intermediate yardage. I feel like he could be a very good possession receiver. He's got the size. So we'll see if he can run the route over the middle or if he's just good on the fly pattern down the sideline. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
I like it. Coleslaw to food. And so I'm going to do an extension of what we talked about when the Tigers in our sister podcast, Detroit Tigers Litter Box. We talked about food, and Baltimore's famous for two things primarily: crab cakes and natural Bohemian beer. But they also put Old Bay seasoning on their French fries, their crabs, their crab boils, their shrimp boils, crab cakes. Chet, the question for you is, how familiar are you with Old Bay, and how do you feel about it?
I'm very familiar now because you've gone through this before on our Tigers pod when we played the Orioles. You did a deep dive. Folks, go over to the Litter Box Detroit Tigers podcast, find the Orioles game recap, and you can hear Bill talk about his Old Bay there. But I'm very familiar. It's a wonderful seasoning for seafood. I'm less about seasoning my seafood, though. I like to put some drawn butter on my crab, and that's really how I go with it. I don't know so much about the spices and whatnot. I'm not that into it.
Yeah.
And I may be violating some Chesapeake Bay mandate. I don't know.
I just am not the biggest Old Bay fan. And the balloon popped for me when I was told to order crab fries. And I was expecting...
Crab fries?
It's basically fries with Old Bay seasoning.
Sounds delightful.
Okay, but don't ask me why. I was expecting tachos, fries with cold crab meat and maybe I
thought you were about to say Takis, by the way. Do you know what a Taki is?
Oh, yeah, they give them away.
They're
spicy.
My kids love them.
Yeah, post Bowls games.
But you were going to try to compare a crab fry to a Taki, and I was
Never.
like, wow, we're really stretching the bounds here.
Two different spice levels.
Okay.
So I agree with a little bit of seasoning for a boil. I don't necessarily like adding it to, and I thought crab fries were going to be this wonderful, I don't know, crab topping on it or cheese or something like that. And all it really was Old Bay. And I have to admit, it was kind of wah because
I like to let the natural crab meat do the work.
Exactly.
I'm not sure, just a little drawn butter to bring some out. Kind of, I don't really need spices on my seafood, especially my crustaceans, but whatever. Maybe it's if you have bad crab meat. Is there bad crab meat?
I'm sure there's bad,
cheap crab meat. If you got a Long John Silver, do you need the spices on the meats?
Do they even have crab?
I don't think so. I think they just have clam. They have clam
and shrimp.
Shrimp.
It has to be fried.
It's shrimp and clam, and they fry it and they put it in all sorts of spices to hide the fact that it's 7 years old. Probably, I don't know.
All right, go Lions, and we'll be back with you to talk about this post game and then preview the Cleveland Browns upcoming next.